Hello, thank you for listening and watching You Had Options. This episode I have John Marullo from the Florida established punk rock band Protagonist. Good conversation, great conversation. We had talk about their new split with Omnigone that is coming out. You can go check out Iron Mind song by Protagonist out there right now. Go to protagonist.bandcamp. Support them, buy some merch, go like them. Hey, there's Caesar. I don't know if you can see him. Go like them on Instagram at ProtagonistFL. Follow the podcast at youhadoptions. You can go to thehandsomescoundrels.com/shop and buy some merch. Yeah. Thank you. Enjoy. I'm not ready to record. John, thank you for joining me.
Hey, good to be here.
Yeah, you're telling
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. You're telling me that one of your best friends did this podcast earlier.
Yeah,
Jeff,
I have a couple best friends, and both of them happen to be in Protagonist. Not my brother Peter, who also is my actual brother, but Jeff Berman, who is our bass player, but also is Divided Heaven is his whole band and his whole thing. So yeah, earlier on in the pandemic he did it.
Yeah. I remember Jeff and I spoke a little bit about professional wrestling. Is that a thing you are into as well?
I was watching the AEW pay-per-view last night.
Really?
So
I saw the highlights of it.
I'm not into pro wrestling at the same level that Jeff Berman is in. I think there's only I have a number of friends who are. I think it's I call it the PhD level understanding of kayfabe in the business. I do understand a lot of it. And Peter and I grew up watching during the golden era, really starting around 1986, 87 or so. But I do appreciate pro wrestling. I also appreciate the intersections that have really happened over the last 10 years or so with punk rock and pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. I think they have these things, some things in common that carry through.
Oh yeah, man. Is that Ultimate Warrior in the background?
That is not Ultimate Warrior in the background. It's a luchador that actually got down in Mexico City outside of the lucha. I'm gonna get the name wrong, but the arena where you see lucha there, and so I grabbed one of those, so I have it for my trip. So yeah, he or they hang out in the background over there.
Okay. And you are a founding member of Protagonist.
I am. Yeah, large portion of my life has been spent with the people in this band and with this band in general.
How long has Protagonist been around?
The original, all the way back, the Big Bang starting of it is around the spring of 1999. That version of Protagonist was me in my bedroom writing the first few songs that ended up actually coming on our first full-length record several years down the road, but there's a couple different iterations of the band, and we're playing a bunch of shows and things like that. And then really when my brother joined in 2001 and Brian Forst, the other guitar player, when he joined in 2000, that was really when we started really getting going, playing a lot of shows, going on tour, and things like that. But so whether it's 99, 2000, 2001, it's a long time.
Yeah.
A good long time.
Yeah. I think the first time I heard of y'all, I don't know if I'm sure you were playing, but when Protagonist did the small Florida clubs with the Newfound Glory a couple years ago.
the Florida vacation tour in spring of 2016. That was a very good time. That was a very fun time.
Yeah, I went to the Pensacola one at Sluggo's, or no, it wasn't Sluggo's. It was Handlebar, and it's a good time.
That was my birthday. That was my birthday. The day of that show.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a good time. Very like kind of that very packed room. That was, and I do remember it from being sung "Happy Birthday" on stage at that show. So, while ago, yeah, good time.
Have you spent a lot of your birthdays playing shows?
Ooh, that one is definitely one. I'm trying to think if I do like really quick Rolodex of like the dates in my mind. Not that many, but a good. That show, I remember a few years before, Protagonist being on tour as well during my birthdays when I was living in Washington, D.C. And I remember we were there. Those are the two that come to mind. I'm sure if Peter was here, Peter would say, no, it was this day this way and this one as well. But, birthdays, I'm a big believer in celebrating birthdays. Any of these milestones that any of us are lucky enough to get to, because I'm sure you, like me, have friends that haven't been lucky enough to get this far into life. And I mean, like just the time on Earth. So that was a fun with when you're like your brothers sitting next to you, like Brian and Jeff are here, Kyle, our drummer. And, it's like a nice way to celebrate doing this thing and doing it in that way. So cool. Thanks. I haven't thought about that in a really long time. So thank you for bringing that up. So,
yeah. It's birthdays are especially I'm 33, and the more I'm thinking, that's not crazy old or anything, but you start thinking of weird shit like, what were you doing on your birthday? And like, I don't know, reminiscing and more. I find myself.
And that was the birthday going from 33 to 34. So I just turned 40 this year. So yeah, we've been reflecting on some of those things of what's the time spent here on the Earth, and again, like getting a lot of that involved in punk rock music in some form or fashion. And also, and it's again worth mentioning that I've had the opportunity to do Protagonist with my younger brother. So, and not everybody either has a sibling or is close to the sibling. So me and Peter have gotten to do that, which is really, really special to me.
Yeah. That's cool. Did y'all, did it start in Florida, Protagonist?
Started in Florida, in South Florida, in Boca Raton, Florida, or West Boca Raton, Florida, which is known as unincorporated Palm Beach County. So that's where at one time we all lived within about 2 or 3 miles of each other. We all have lived, none of us have lived in the same area for about 16 years. At this point. So I was the first one to move away after a lot of shows, a lot of touring, a lot of records. And we've always been able to make it happen remote, though, like before really technology kind of caught up. We were just like, all right, it was never like, can we do this? It was always kind of like, okay. Yeah. We always kind of operated our band in a pretty pragmatic kind of way, sort of like, okay, there's a hurdle here. Okay, let's just figure out how we do it.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. And like, the more people start getting in relationships and having kids and their jobs get more serious, stuff like that. It's tough. I guess just logistical stuff. Yeah,
it is. And I think like anything in life, whether it's like, whether it's a band, friendships, relationships, as long as like it all takes maintenance. It all takes everyone coming to the table. And, with Protagonist, whether it's, I'm in New York, Peter's outside of Boston, Kyle's in Orlando, Brian is in Gainesville, Jeff is in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And then all of us have jobs as well. Some are affiliated with music, some are not. And so everyone's busy. Jeff and Kyle became parents over the last year and a half as well. So, and like, those aren't like even what I'll refer to as like challenges. It's just, you're just so excited to watch these people who you've known since they were like 18, or I think Kyle I've known since he was like 15 or 16 years old. Become parents, and it makes me there's not really words to really say like a great many deal of things happening in this world and on this planet over the last number of years alone, but with people like Jeff and his wife and and with Kyle and his wife as well, like I'm I can sleep soundly at night knowing that those are the type of people that are raising kids on this planet.
Yeah. I've seen some people. I don't know if I want them. To bear the fruit. Yeah.
Exactly. But those two have either kept me sane, have kept me alive, like whatever it is, driving through the night in a van or serious life decisions. So they're naturally good parents, and their partners are as well.
Oh man. Do you have children?
I don't. I hope to someday. I'm gonna have to be like the cool older dad, maybe, or not cool older dad, just the older dad in general. But yeah, it just hadn't for whatever reason just hasn't worked out up until this point. But still definitely a goal of mine. But a friend of mine last year or early, I guess it was June 2020. My friend Sean, you might listen to this. He became a first-time dad at 49 years old. So
nice.
So no worries on that. My dog keeps me plenty busy.
There you go, man.
Let alone with regular life and stuff.
I think Dwight Yoakam, the country music star, and his wife had a kid like last year before, and he's like 65. So that's his first kid. Yeah.
There you go. So I'm not sure if that's just related to good genetics or technology or whatever it ends up being here in this latter part of whatever timeline that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, if you go and I don't know if you're a country fan or into Dwight Yoakam at all.
I know like one or two songs. I know what he looks like, but I'm not going to say I know. I cannot tell you his Wikipedia page from memory or anything like that.
If you go back and you watch just live videos or music videos throughout his career, he's always wearing like painted on jeans. So I don't know, maybe if that's some sort of preserver of his his seed or whatnot.
It could be. I think I'm not sure what rating the podcast has, but there's
let it fly.
All things that could happen. Yes, exactly.
We can. This episode can be you had options after dark with John.
Yeah. There you go.
So you guys, do you have a new album coming out? I know you just put out a new single, Iron Mind.
Yeah, no new album. We'll talk about the album in a second, but the new single is released on this week, so I'm not sure when the podcast will drop, but June 30th is the official release, and it's a split. It's a 7-inch split EP with our friends in Omnigone, or Bay Area band. Yeah. And it's Adam from the band Link 80, his new band, and then there's other people that I think played in that band. I think Barry from Link 80. I think a couple of people from We Are the Union, and other people have made up that band over time. And then they're doing 2 originals, and then we have a new original that's out streaming right now wherever you get music out there in the world, whether it's Spotify, Apple, Bandcamp, YouTube, whatever it is. And then one Link 80 cover. So if any of the ska punk fans out there, the song Dime Store Hoods from the record 17 Reasons, or it was on a 7-inch before that as well. So the Iron Mind is our original song that's streaming right now. And then I think Dime Store Hoods dropped sometime this week. And then the vinyl, it's like 4 different record labels are affiliated with the record, which I think is really cool. And especially in this point in time we find us in, we're just, pressing records is really expensive. And so props and love to anybody associated with labels, pressing plants, whatever that it is to get that in people's hands. So the vinyl, I think, will be shipping sometime in July, I think. And there's different color variants for the different record labels. I think a couple are in the States, one is in the UK. So pretty exciting and pretty cool. It's also our first new music. And in a little bit, we released a kind of a collections record in April 2020. And then more new music. We could talk about that as well. But I wrote a lot of songs over the last 2 years, and getting ready to go record those sometime in the late summer, early fall. Start recording those at least.
Was you writing a bunch in the last 2 years? Was that like just COVID, sitting in your house all day, or are you usually just writing songs all the time?
I always, and like the spoiler alert of the guitars, and bass, behind me here, but the, I don't want to say I have a guitar in my hands at all times, and I've always kind of written songs in blasts and not writing a song, hey, like once a week or every day. But yeah, kind of to that first part of your saying, finding myself, I think it's almost even hard for us to remember at this time the earlier days of the pandemic when there's no vaccines. There's a lot of unknown, and there's still a lot of unknown now, but a lot of unknown on what's going to happen if I go outside. I was living in San Francisco for just up and through about a few months ago before I moved back out to the East Coast. And it was just me. I don't have my family out there or anything. So it was just me, Mr. Baby, the pit bull, who's behind me rustling around here. And, just with guitars and started just kind of writing. And, my brother's always, Peter's always like, it's like, kind of keep going, keep writing. And, there's a lot of stuff that happens during the pandemic, whether it's like you're listening to a lot of different records, and I always listen to a lot of music, reading books, like other media, and just kind of have that all sink in, and just started writing. And then all of a sudden I realized I had 50 songs demoed out. So basically the equivalent of two full-length records with what I would say quality songs on them. And then some songs that no one will ever see. And then one song for like a side project that I don't know what to do with. And then just some other songs that don't really fit into anything. But, so it felt good to kind of be that prolific for the first time. And that was the first time I wrote that many songs since maybe mid 2000s, late 2000s, when for our Chronicle record, and a lot of those associated songs. So and then, been sending them back and forth to Peter and Kyle and Brian and stuff like that, trying to figure out, what some of the arrangements might be, some of the ideas that they might have on them as well. So looking forward to it. I'm really excited about those songs. And, the pandemic has been like a dynamic and troubling and really sad time for all of us. And, I was, I'm glad that something artistic for me came out of it, on top of other stuff working on at that same time, that got some new songs here, and that will hopefully see the light of day at some point. And again, we're not out of this thing either. There's still a long way to go here, making sure our fellow humans are taken care of as well.
Yeah, for sure. Wild times. But it's always crazy to me. Like, I don't know, you'll hear of like some huge band is working on a new album, and they'll say like, oh, we wrote like 200 songs for this album, and we just picked away. It's like 200 songs. Good Lord.
Yeah. I mean, like, even like I remember when, we were talking at the top, when you had Jeff Berman, Protagonist member, and one of my best friends on here. And I remember when he was writing for his second record, the Youngblood record, he wrote a lot of songs, I don't know, 35, 40 songs, something like that. And I remember he went through this whole process of whittling it down to what those like 12 or 13 songs would be. I think on my computer here, actually, like I have some of those like old demos, or just him and an acoustic guitar songs that never saw the light of day. But, that's part of that writing process. I was never good at that. This is probably the first time where I have this many songs, and as me and Peter, Peter has tried to look at them and kind of figure out, okay, I think this batch might be here, and I'm like, this batch might be here, and how do you kind of cross-pollinate some of it? There's kind of different things going on. But I remember when right before we went to record one of our last records, Jean Jackets, in June, that was to get the fifth song done for this EP, it was just hard, just to kind of get the songs to feel like they were quality enough to record. So I'm glad that we have a bunch here. And for a band that, again, that's spread out all over the country and has a lot of different things going on, it's good to have like a bank of songs. Though how I understand how people do podcasts as well. Sometimes you'll have like a bank of episodes and be like, we'll do this one here. And so I'm glad to have a bank of songs here, and that kind of we'll have to work with, and then maybe rework. Maybe, hey, I thought one was great, and Peter's like, it's not, or Kyle's like, actually, this one's great, and kind of figure it out from there. But I usually trust my brother to be the ear on a lot of these songs, to be like, hey, keep trying. There was one song where like, we have been trying to write for about 3 or 4 years and just can never, ever get it. And I'm sure what that is like as well, from being in a band. And finally, like, kind of, we felt, me and him, as the audience of just me and him, were like, okay, we finally did it. We knocked it out of the park on this one. And it's finally like, okay, cool. And usually when me and him have that feeling, we're like, we generally are in a good direction.
Right. You guys just finish that one song, and you're like, and you pass away. That's it.
Yeah, it gives you that like it's like the same feeling of like chugging a 20 ounce of Mountain Dew, and you're just like, I'm ready to go. And so then you'll just keep, and that finishing that song. So remember, if I think about the songs, I remember writing one right at the start of the pandemic, probably around May of 2020, and then wrote some stuff over that summer, and it was like, this is like bonehead. This sucks. And then after that kind of period there, that's where it was like the ignition switch, where just like all of a sudden the floodgates kind of opened with some of these riffs and getting them to where they need to go.
Yeah, so it sounds like everybody's pretty tech savvy too, with with recording stuff by themselves and sending it back and forth.
Yeah, like it's like whether it's GarageBand or Logic, I use GarageBand with some the same stuff that everyone uses, like amplitude or like the neural like DSP stuff is for so the guitars sound like like the Protagonist demo sound like it's two Marshall 800s doing their thing, and the bass, and I've gotten pretty good at like just like programming to demo kind of drums and stuff like that, and then you have like enough of a bass so then when you go to do this for real, you also save a little bit of time, because we don't have some bands do, we just don't have the benefit of getting into the practice space and working them out. So I take on like the responsibility, and it's like awesome responsibility, and it's like fun doing, of trying to get to the songs as far as they can go, and then the other members start looking at them and putting their fingerprints on them, and getting them from like pretty good songs to like what we hope are like really good Protagonist songs. Mm-hmm. A big difference between that, right. The band needs to come together.
So you guys also, since you've been together for a while, it seems like y'all have a good chemistry of writing, where you're not like Oasis or something, where you guys are like, this is shit, and you're trying to throw Pete out a hotel window or something like that. I don't know.
No, I'm sure one member of the band has wanted to throw Pete out a hotel window before. And I'm his brother, so we would always fight on tour. But it would always one cool thing about having your sibling that you get along with on tour. I remember Kyle saying this one time, is that like me and him would just start like yelling at each other about like, you're ugly, like no, like you're fucking ugly, like the brotherly stuff. And like actually having to fight about like, well, 4 people were at the show tonight and it's like 13 degrees outside, and like it would take the steam off of everybody else. So then kind of let it out there. No, but we have a good chemistry, and like whether it's me and my brother, and like me and him have a pretty understood direction of like where we might want to go, or like when I'm writing, I understand what Brian might want to put onto this song with leads, or how Brian might think about changing the thing around, or I might think like, okay, what would Kyle do here? And I always think when your band members really well, that is, it's not a stressful thing. It's a liberating thing in terms of like, or you can be like, this part's a little weird and it's going to change the time here and something's not going to repeat. And we like to do kind of stuff like that here and there. And like, and maybe even more often than we should. And like, but I always know that like that group of people can not even just handle it, but like make it better. Or I remember when we were recording the Jean Jackets in June record, and we did that with Pete Steinkoff from the Bouncing Souls at Little Eden in Asbury Park, New Jersey. And we had a very finite amount of time to get this thing done. We had 4.5 days or so, and because of work schedules and everything. I remember me and Kyle working on the song Jean Jackets in June to do the drums, and me and him were upstairs in the living room. We got through one, and we were like, that's pretty good. And we did a second one, and we're like, and then like we were finding the parts from there. And then Kyle was like writing stuff in real time there, and then the finished one, that if I ever come across it or hear it, or when we play it live, it's like that was all just kind of written, kind of had the idea of where we wanted to go, but like that's Kyle putting like his vibe into that song and making sure that it gets written to the exact spot it needs to go. So and sometimes kind of doing that, I'm not sure what the phrase for it is, but you're thinking like, okay, what might not they like about this? And okay, then you kind of think about that to kind of just, whether it's putting the producer's hat on and when it's writing songs is thinking about that. Is about like, how can this be are my friends gonna like it? And in the end, like you're writing, you like what, if your band members are digging it, you're happy. And if Peter's digging it, then I'm happy.
Peter's the litmus test.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. A lot of those bands have that thing. If you read any of the kind of the rock, any of those rock
Yeah.
autobiographies, or um, I'm sure I heard you and Jim from Dark Thoughts talking about the one of the Ramones books.
Yeah.
I got done reading Peter Hook from Joy Division and New Order, his books.
Yeah.
Over the pandemic, and he often always talks about Ian Curtis being like the one that would be like, oh, like you and Bernard, like Bernard Sumner and him coming up with riffs, and be like, oh, that's the good one. Take that, keep that. That's the good one. He has the ear in the eye for what these guys were trying to do. And I think every band needs like someone like that. That's good. That were like, that's not good. I remember like the one song I was talking about earlier. I remember sending it to Peter. I'm like, I figured it out, and he listened back on it, and he was like, no, you didn't. You didn't figure it out, man. And I remember like being like deflated, but also like in my heart, I knew like, yeah, the song wasn't there. But when I went back, and then I me and him I think all bands have a rating system of some sort. So like one where we're like Hell Yes is an A. Call it an A. And I remember I'm like, yo, this is an A. And he wrote me back all he goes, this is an A. Nice. So we're like, again, yeah, Peter's happy.
Where did y'all all get together to record this Omnigone split?
Yeah, because that was before the world went all topsy-turvy.
Oh, okay.
Tried to swallow itself out of the number of times the world has tried to swallow itself over the last 2.5 years. So that was back in the last week of December. It was maybe December 30th and December 31st, 2019. And we did that in South Florida. Where we're all from, and the way the schedules were going to work out, Peter was like, I think we can record this week if everyone is here. We also had a show with Less Than Jake in Fort Lauderdale like that same week, so we were going to be down there anyways. Kyle was living in South Florida at the time, and we did it in a studio called the Bull Productions in Miami, Florida, with this gentleman named Ryan, who was really great to work with. And we did those 2 songs there, got them, sort of went into a rehearsal space maybe the day before in Pompano Beach, Florida, and kind of worked them out, me, Kyle, and everyone else, and kind of figure out where we would go. And me and Brian just sitting in a bedroom in a house, just like going over the guitar stuff. And Brian and Kyle both, but they're kind of prodigy level with how they approach their instrument. So you could just say to Brian, I'm kind of thinking that this thing could have here. And then Brian, like if you listen to the new song I Remind, there's all these kind of cool and intricate leads and solos, and that's all Brian. Nice. Kind of like, all right, like take this and make, do your thing with it, man.
Yeah, that's nice. That takes some pressure off of, I don't know, of everybody else. If you've got this I don't know, somebody that thinks like that. I don't know. It's not.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with Kyle. Like these are also 2 people. Like all of us in the band have played our instrument for a long time, and are also just always trying to get better at it. Like I feel like I became a better guitar player over the last 2 years because when you're playing all the time, your brain and hands working together. It's both like brain waves, all that acidic stuff up here, where you'll go to do things that maybe you didn't do, or you're so loose with everything. You're like, oh, that's weird progression here. Or I want to do this weird thing here. Or you think it's weird, but then you hear back on it. You're like, oh, fuck, that was cool. Interesting. Now you got to remember how to do it. Yeah. That was the only thing, this really bad habit that I developed during the pandemic, where I always prided myself on remembering exactly how every song goes. And I was doing a lot of stuff on the fly where I would listen back onto it. And I was like, holy shit, how did I do that? And I'm kind of like, how the fuck am I going to play that in the future? Yeah. Or accidentally recording a demo at there's a couple very fast songs around 198, 199 BPM. Damn. And trying to play back on it, I was just like, fuck, Kyle is going to be so pissed at me. This is a little too fast. But then you figure that stuff out when you're actually getting the songs done. And also, before we move on from that, I'd be remiss to say, so we tracked that record in Miami, and then Jamie Wolford is who mixed that record down. And Jamie Wolford, for those who might not be familiar, was in the band The Stereo and Animal Chin for a long time, and has been a part of a lot of our records. So he mixed The Chronicle, our second LP, and then also mixed Jean Jackets in June and some of the other stuff from the Fallout from the Chronicle collection. So always like working with Jamie, and then you kind of then you get the finished product.
Yeah,
and you're stoked on it.
Yeah, yeah. Going back to you becoming a better guitarist over the past 2 years, whenever you pick up a guitar, are you like, I'm going to practice this thing, or are you just kind of like noodling around? Like, what's your approach?
Mainly noodling around, and like anything. I'm not sure what you have discovered in the last like 5 to 10 years of your life, but like and I don't mean to go too heavy and existential there either.
Go for it, man.
How our brains work, but I have found, and also as it gets darker out here, I look like I'm just getting like you could fry an egg off of me. But I feel like I need to like lean back so I get my head burned off. But proximity is really important to me.
Yeah.
So the guitar is like right here. Like,
yeah.
I can touch the Les Paul. If I go, I get the SG, I get the bass here. So I was finding that like you just make excuses as like, I've heard a lot of people talk about how they feel like the world has like picked up pace because of technology and things like that. And we all have these fucking things in our hands where you're just doing this all the time. And, why play guitar? It's also, I changed my songwriting times where I used to write a lot in the evening because, you're working a lot, you're doing this, you're going to school, you're going to grad school, whatever it is. And I switched up to writing in the mornings where my brain was fresh. And I had heard also Bob Mould like would write in the morning. And I was like, okay, it's good for Bob Mould. It's good for me. So, but yeah, it's usually like noodling things or, I might have like a riff just kind of appears in my mind and I try to kind of get it out or, but then sometimes it's just like you're picking it up because you're like, okay, now I got to record this part in this demo here to get where I need to go. And then sometimes like about a week ago, I ran through like a set of like 10 random Protagonist songs because just to keep like the chops like going. Like we're going to be playing later. We only have one show right now booked for later in the year at the fest, but I just like to make sure that my brain automatically knows where to go. So I'm never doing the calculation ever on stage about how do I play this song? How do I do this? Like always like, and so sometimes it might not even be a song that's going to be played at fest. I might have not played the song in 4 years or something like that, but I just like to play it to make sure that like I know how to do it. Yeah.
Do you think y'all are going to set up shows around fest?
I don't know. It depends on everyone's schedule. Like kind of like I was saying, everyone kind of being spread out. I mean, one cool thing about being here is, by here I mean the East Coast, is that I'm a little bit closer to Peter. So like Peter was, Peter's in Boston, and Peter was able to come down here back in May, and we sat here in this very room, and we're able to go through like a bunch. We didn't get through all 50 songs, but we went through maybe about 15 of them. Yeah, and just kind of had the guitars out, and we'd be listening and be like, this part here, this is not working. And he's like, this is not working. So I was like, hey, how about we do this here, kind of work in real time. It was the first time I'd worked with like a band member side by side since I think working on that song Iron Mind with Brian. But, it's kind of lost my train of thought there. But but in terms, it was a schedule and shows. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know yet because there's a lot going on this year. Peter is getting married in a month. People got everything going on there. It would be cool if we can, but we will see. I'll just kind of couch it with we will see. I would love to play 1 or 2 shows around the fest. So the fest is always a fun time, and I'm always happy that and stoked when we get to play.
Nice. Well, I do have some questions that I like to call the lightning round.
Let's do it.
And I say it every time, and lightning is depends on what lightning means nothing. It's relative. Okay. So you can expound upon or whatever. The floor is yours.
All right.
You said you live in New York. Have you ever seen a rat eat pizza?
I saw rat eat pizza, no, but I saw 3 rats scurrying as I was coming home from my friend's house yesterday who were underneath bags of trash.
Okay. Have you had any one-on-one encounters with a rat in New York?
Like the rat coming after me?
Yeah.
Not a rat coming after me. The last day I was living in my apartment in San Francisco back in December of 2021, I tried to go up to the roof because we had a really not safe but fun roof to see the whole city of San Francisco. And there was a pigeon attacked me and almost knocked me out. And I was like, when the fuck did these pigeons get? I don't remember these being here about a year ago. I hadn't been up to the roof in a while. And like I tried to kind of come again and it was just, waved its and that's like my huge fucking wingspan. There
yeah, man. Make yourself big.
Like after me. And I was like, and I know pigeons, I know there's some things that have been said about pigeons and being related to rats. So, I don't want to get any of the zoologists like pissed off here, but that was the closest that a rat came coming after me.
Damn.
Rabbit.
Yeah. Have you heard of this birds aren't real? You heard of this?
I have not.
It's like it was going back to wrestling. It was this like joke account that these guys made of like, and they made this whole backstory of how the U.S. government in the 50s and 60s were taking real birds and killing them and replacing birds with like surveillance drones.
Yeah, I mean that definitely sounds like a Reddit rabbit hole nightmare.
Yeah.
Or just like when people believe that there was a time traveler named John Titor that was here. But I mean I like the idea of where your head's at on there. I make a good horror movie, which my brother is a big horror movie aficionado, so that could be something in the future there. Ooh. I'm also just trying to switch these fucking lights around. Just I'm like gonna burn my own head off there. There we go.
You got a pretty sweet setup for video.
It's not bad. Yeah. It's not bad. It gets the job done.
Yeah. What's your favorite truck stop / gas station when touring?
Ooh,
Sheetz, Wawa.
Oh, definitely Wawa. Definitely have a bias towards Wawa. Other Protagonist members have different answers for this question. I know Kyle has always been a Sheetz evangelist, but Wawa is what I would choose. And also, growing up, me and Peter grew up in Pennsylvania before we moved to Florida, and watching Wawa expand all over the eastern seaboard down. Also, I would say Buc-ee's always is good in Texas, and
it's Buc-ee's is expanding now too.
Is it really?
Yeah.
When I was driving across the country when I was moving, me and Mr. Baby, we stopped at Buc-ee's one morning, and it was one of the happiest places you could be.
Yeah. I moved. I was living in Mobile, Alabama, and I just moved up to Birmingham, Alabama.
You played there? Yeah.
Yeah. But right outside of Mobile is there's a Buc-ee's now that popped up about a year or two ago.
Awesome.
What's the worst punk rock bathroom you've had to go number 2 in?
CBGB's. Back in 2003, we played at CBGB's a couple times in 2003. Our Protagonist played there, and then Jeff's band, the Boyles, who are a punk band from Pennsylvania, I was filling in guitar for them. Yeah, probably the CB's bathroom, though it's also bad, but it was bad, but also you're like, that's still CBGB's, so that's pretty rad.
Yeah, it's like a landmark. It's like kissing the Blarney Stone. All these other gross people kissed it,
Yeah, no, exactly.
Same difference.
Honor that history in one way or another.
Right. Do you have a terrible borders / customs experience?
Not a terrible experience.
Or what's your worst one?
And they've been pretty, I'm going to be honest, pretty smooth here. I remember when we were getting ready to go through customs in Japan, and I remember we were told in preparation of going, like, this is what you're going to say when you go in and why you have a guitar with you. And I remember they were like, why do you have a guitar? And I go, I am attending a wedding and my band is playing at the wedding. They were like, what day is the wedding? And I must have said someday in June. That's when we were there. And went through nothing weird, getting detained. Or one time going into Canada in 2009, we had some trouble getting in 2009 where it took a while to get through. I want to say I remember maybe about 2 hours or so from looking up different things of whoever might have been in the band at that time. Yeah. We'll call that redacted here. But for something maybe that had happened a little bit earlier in that tour that involved a police report of some sort. But I remember I was driving and we had all our passports and stuff, and it took a little bit to get through that one. But I remember that was another one where there was an elaborate story to get in. We had a bunch of shows in Quebec and Montreal, I think 5 or 6 shows or something like that. And we're like, we are recording at this particular place, which we weren't recording, we were performing. But so I'm not sure how much easier or harder that gets next time that we do that, whether we go to Canada or Japan or somewhere else.
Yeah, for a lot of we've gone through Canada a couple times. That happened to us once of pulling us over, and we had to go in the building and talk to people, and that's scary. Yeah, and
something when you're in South Texas as well, like you're going through those different checkpoints. When you're near places like that, we've had the privilege of playing in places like Laredo and McAllen and stuff like that. And then if you're working your way through Texas, you always go through those. I went through them again on this drive out here a few months ago, and so it's kind of a reminder that stuff is here as well. And always a little bit stressful for whatever reason. It just feels stressful to go through this.
Yeah, you always feel like you're going to say something wrong, like or something weird, and it's going to be like, okay, well, you guys stay here for a couple hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the most expensive shirt you bought?
The most expensive shirt,
or maybe just most expensive piece of clothing.
I bought a new winter jacket when I came here. That was more money than I wanted to spend. That was probably about $300. I wanted to buy. Everyone was like, buy a good winter coat when you moved back to the East Coast. Because San Francisco, I'm not sure how much time you spend in San Francisco. Like the climate is generally a temperate climate. It's about 65 to 70 degrees most of the time. It gets down to 50. Sometimes it gets really hot, but like you're pretty much wearing a windbreaker or a jean jacket all the time in the Bay Area. So I was like, what's it like going to be? What's it like to be cold again? So I bought probably the best thing I bought for winter weather is when I was first here, I just walked into a Target and bought $20 like cheap snow gloves. And those were the ones I wore during the whole winter. So I will say the most expensive dog thing I bought Mr. Baby a sleeveless dog winter jacket.
Ooh.
So he could show off his muscles.
Hell yeah.
That was probably about $40, but Mr. Baby was warm and was good to go.
So Mr. Baby is his full name, or is his name Baby?
His name is Baby or Mr. Baby. Baby was the name given to him at his shelter. That he was discovered outside of a shelter called Pets in Need that's in Palo Alto, California, stuffed inside a crate. And they looked inside the crate and there was a lot of blood. He was dropped off and abandoned. They never found the people that did it. That did that. They don't know what exactly happened. He might have been an abuse case, could have been a dogfighting case. They're not sure. And at the intake down the street at the emergency hospital, this was coming from the woman that dropped them off. And she kept saying in the car, baby, it's going to be all right. We're going to try to get you the help that you need. And when they dropped them off for the intake, they said they needed a name. And she goes, just call him Baby. And so that was the name that was on there. And then I saw his story on the news. And I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to adopt a new dog because my previous animal companion had passed away, Una, about a year before that, almost a year before that. So, right when I went to go pick him up, they're like, do you know what name you're going to have for him? And I'm like, well, I'm just going to keep Baby and I'll put a Mr. on there so he has a dignified title for everything he's been through. So I do know there is like a certain like cute aspect of it, but also like a ridiculousness, like the spectacle of it, like when I'm yelling like Mr. Baby, and you can tell that people are like, what's this guy doing? But Baby, he goes by both. So yeah, sleeping, snoring behind me.
Nice. Did he have whenever you got him? Did he have any troubles adjusting? I guess it was it a single, or you had no other animals at that point?
Yeah, anyone that's watching the YouTube version of this podcast see my facial expression. They're like, I wonder if John will tell the truth here. And I'm going to tell the truth. Mr. Baby had a lot of trouble adjusting in terms of he didn't have a puppy experience, and just like a lot of humans for that matter, humans and dogs overcoming trauma. It takes takes time, dedication, understanding. And my previous animal didn't have any kind of issues really whatsoever. The only thing that she was not blessed with was length in life and length in years. But Mr. Baby peed on the couch probably at least 10 times. He used to pee on the floor about every 20 minutes, and then it was every 90 minutes. And But he got there. He hasn't had those accidents. He still gets very excited when he sees people. So we got into a situation. We got into a rhythm that if someone's coming over to the apartment, whether it was San Francisco or here, we take Mr. Baby outside first so he can welcome them outside, so he doesn't piss on their feet or anything like that. But I mean, the progress that he's made in 2.5 years is like a good reminder to me about resilience, about patience. And that I really did not know as much as I thought I knew. And then kind of the community of people I know, whether it's in rescue and other people who've been through certain situations, I leaned on them big time to do that. So, but yeah, he's good to go. He has a good setup. He has a good setup here, and he's a good dude, for sure.
He sounds solid, Mr. Baby.
Yeah. And he's about 50 pounds. He's the size of like a fire extinguisher. Nice. So
love it.
Yes, always.
What's your perfect pizza?
My perfect pizza is just a traditional, I would say, Neapolitan with mushrooms and pepperoni. A runner-up being a pepperoni pizza from Via 313 in Austin, Texas. When I lived there, they did like kind of the square Detroit style pizza. They were kind of one of the places, if not the place. Sorry for some of them. I'm sure there's maybe one or two pizza marks on listen to this. Could be. Like, no, they weren't. But like Via 313 was doing their thing around 2010, 2011. And I remember they were on a food truck outside the Violet Crown Social Club in East Austin. Also a really good place to grab a beer. And they always have Blitz, Tom Petty, and the Murder City Devils on the jukebox. So good. That's a happy place on earth for me. That pizza is unreal. And they've like scaled out, and like they went a lot of locations around Austin. I was there, I think last time I was there, like about 5 or 6 months ago. It's still really fucking good pizza.
Nice. Via 313.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man. To follow up the perfect pizza, what do you want on your tombstone?
No, tombstone. That's a good one. I think one of my favorite Bad Religion quotes is from one of their songs. That's probably one of their least known songs from the New America record. But you've got to proceed no matter how bad you want to stay.
Oh, that's good.
And that's been a good kind of operating philosophy for me in different situations over time. So yeah, you can throw that on my tombstone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. I like it. Well, John, we're nearing the end here. Do you have any closing words or anything?
Yeah. Well, I would love to get back to Birmingham, Alabama at some point. We played Saturn with Less Than Jake and Red City Radio, and that was cool. And the upstairs had all like the space iconography and everything in there, which I thought was very, very cool. Yeah, I mean, like we talked about some of the stuff that's coming up. So we have the record, the split 7-inch coming out with Omnigone. Definitely check out Omnigone in general. We have a repress of our second record, The Chronicle, that's just coming out around now. And there's going to be a bunch of interviews were done to kind of create a zine around when that record was recorded a number of years ago. So that'll be coming out. And then, hopefully trying to get to start recording at least one full-length record. And if I get a little crazy, I keep kind of threatening to Peter, like, what if we just do 2 records at one time?
Double record.
Any of these band members that are listening that are in this band, they're like, no, he's not going to be allowed to do that. But at least try to start recording the 5 or 6. We know like the first 6 that we're going to record. We kind of have that sketched out at least, and figure out how we're going to do that. And then play in the Fest in October of 2022, Halloween weekend. And for those who've been to the Fest before, it's a great time. If you've never gone or you're thinking about going, always good. And so looking forward to that and seeing friends. And just thanks for having me. This has been a blast, and it's been very cool.
Cool. Well, thanks, John. Stay on for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had options, but you decided to talk to me, and I appreciate it.